Hey everybody, Matt from Eastwood. The project behind me is my 1930 Model A, and some of the previous videos you may have seen where I built a chassis from scratch and then I channeled the body down over the chassis. The next part of this project is where we're going to build floor pans. Now I want them to look pretty factory, even though it's been channeled pretty darn hard. This floor pan is going to consist of 6 separate pieces, and I'm finishing up the last piece here. We're going to show you the process on the last 3, and I'm even going to show you a cool little tip called pre-stretching that's going to help keep your floor pans from warping while you're building them. For any of you guys that have done a lot of bead rolling, I'm sure you've come across this problem like we're showing right here. You have a nice flat panel, you lay all your beads out, you roll your beads perfectly straight, you think everything is great, you pull it out, and well, it's just like this. It's all warped and popping when you try to lay it into the vehicle. Now a lot of guys I've seen, they tack weld it and they hammer it into submission and make it fit, but in the end, the fit and finish just isn't really that nice. Now I have one here that we've already done, the same process, and it sits pretty darn flat. We don't have to force it into submission. This is done with a process called pre-stretching, which I'm going to show you on this other panel here. I've already laid out the beads, so we're ready to go. So let's walk over the English wheel and we'll show you the process. All right, so we have our panel in the English wheel here with basically no tension on it. I can slip it between the wheels. And what we're going to do is set the panel up pretty much centered in the wheel. And we're going to put, I'd say, moderate tension on it. We want enough tension that we're actually moving some metal. So I got some moderate tension and I'm going to start rolling it. And we're going to focus on basically about 1 inch on either side of this line. This line is our center line of our bead, and we want to focus on stretching the metal right around that, maybe 1 inch on either side. So I'm going to roll this back and forth a handful of times, trying to basically just go right to my start and stop point. So you don't need to do a ton of rolling, just enough to stretch the metal right around that bead. Now you don't want to go outside of that 1 or 2 inch range, because then you're going to start affecting the whole entire panel. So that's one done here. And put some moderate pressure on it. I'm going to roll this one. You don't need much, it's just a little bit. There's our next one. So we got these first 2 rolled. I'm going to finish rolling these last 3, and then we're going to go over to the bead roller and we'll show you what we're going to do then. So as you can see, by just wheeling each of these bead lines a little bit on either side of the bead line, we have stretched the metal and given us extra material for the bead to then use up when we roll all these beads in the panel. There's a little bit of distortion in it now from using it in the English wheel, but once we throw these beads in here, it'll pretty much all flatten out and we won't have that crazy oil canning that we showed you on our test piece earlier. So let's throw it in the bead roller and we'll show you what it looks like. So here's where we're at. This is real life. So I bent this panel up and it's really close, and I could probably with a hammer tap this thing down in there and force it in place. But I still got to build the rest of this floor, and more than likely I'm going to have to take this in and out a handful of times. So it's just a hair too tight. So I'm going to take this back on the bench and show you a little trick to move your bend line over just a hair. We're not going to move it probably more than like a 1/16 or something around that. But it's a pretty quick, simple way, so we don't have to scrap this whole entire panel and we can keep moving forward. So let me show you on the bench here. Start by holding a dolly at a slight angle behind the flange, leaving a small air gap at the bottom. Then hit on the center of the bead on the outside of the panel. Once the new edge has been formed, hold the dolly tight and hammer the old bend line flat. With the bend line moved over, we drop the pan in and we install clecos to hold it in place. I then scribed and cut off the excess metal that sat above the cross braces. All right, at this point we got 5 out of 6 floor pans made, and the first 5 were all pretty darn simple, and they were all alike. We pre-stretched the beads, rolled them in, bent the edges, and fit everything in, and we're about on the home stretch here. Now the most difficult one to make is the driver's side front pan. That's because in a car that's really small, like a Model A, we're trying to jam a lot of stuff in one small little area. Now I'm using a Havler House of Fab cross member, which puts the brake master cylinder right underneath the driver's feet. So we need a way that we can access and fill brake fluid in the master cylinder. Now I could easily just rough cut a panel out and pop rivet something in place, but I really want it to look professional. So we're going to use the Eastwood bead roller with the forming dies to make a recessed panel that's also removable and looks good in the end. So let's show you the process. All right, I got the panel fitted in the bead roller here, and we've run some test panels to make sure everything is adjusted just how we want. Now I'm going to start the panel or our bead on the flat area. You don't want to start on the bend because it's going to be difficult to connect your bead at the end. That way we can make a nice smooth connection. So Cody's going to give me a hand rolling the bead here, and we'll show you what it looks like after we're done. Using the offset dies in the bead roller and rolling to connect the beads, we've created a recess that we can sit our access panel in. We rolled a bead in our access panel to match the floor pan and cut it a little smaller than the opening in the floor pan. We then marked out the center of the recess and cut it out, leaving a small lip for the panel to sit in. We used the automatic center punch to mark where we drill the screw holes for the mounting tabs. With the holes drilled in the tabs, we transferred them to the access panel. We then used a round punch to put an indent around the holes in the access panel. This will allow our mounting screws to sit flush on the panel. With all of the detail work done, we bent our final mounting flanges in the ends of the panel. After test fitting the panel, we laid out and cut the pedal holes. Finally, we were able to fit the pan in and around the pedals and clecoed it in place. Here you can see our flathead screws holding the panel in place, and everything sits nice and flush. Well, in the beginning of this project, we started out with a big gaping hole in the bottom of the Model A, and now after a little bit of work, we got a complete floor pretty much all clecoed in place. Now, the process for building these floors for each of the 6 panels was just about the same, but that last one we just got done showing you was a little more involved, but I'm really happy with how it came out. In the next video, we're going to show you how we make a transmission tunnel using an Eastwood English wheel and a wire form as our pattern. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel for that tech video and all other tech videos, and follow us on Facebook and Instagram for everything that's Eastwood. Thanks for watching.